Hi, dear grade 5 students, how are you? Hope that you are all doing fine and staying safe at your home. Okay, so guys, this is the third lecture in semester 4 in English. Okay, so this is our third recorded video in this semester. What we are going to do in this video is to start with a new theme, a new reading lesson with its skill. Okay, so it is Unit 4, Lesson 4, and it's called Power from Nature. Over the objectives that we are going to cover in this video. I'm going to introduce for you the big topic with the new theme also. We're going to introduce the new theme. For sure, every new theme or a new topic has its related vocabulary words or keywords. So also I'm going to introduce for you the vocabulary words. I'm going to read the words aloud and correctly for short for you in order to read them later by yourselves. Also, we're going to identify the genre of the text. Don't worry, it's not a new genre. It's totally familiar for you. I'm going to introduce the comprehension skill, which is also not a new skill. It has been given to you during school. We're just going to make like a revision for the skill. And at the end, I'm going to introduce two new types of figures of speech. If someone says, and I hope that it's not correct, if someone says that he or she has forgotten what are figures of speech, I'm going to remind you also first about figures of speech, then I'm going to get into the two new types. Okay? So, are you ready? Let's start. Guys, first of all, let's see what is the concept or the topic. Consider our resources. Okay. When we say consider our resources, what do we mean by resources? Think of it. Resources maybe are things or materials that we need in order to live, maybe because they are very important in our life. And not only to live, maybe they serve another task or another purpose. Okay? Go now for the essential question, which is related to the concept. Why are natural resources valuable? Let's take natural resources. When you take the word natural, it comes from nature. So, natural, we can say that comes from nature. Resources, which are the resources that come from nature. Okay? They are not manufactured or made by a human, they come from nature. Valuable. And what do we mean by valuable? Valuable, it comes from the word value. So we can deduce that valuable means of a great value that has a great value. Okay? Let's take another idea about the topic. Let's read here in the picture. Look at the picture, and we're going to read what's written here. For example, what do you see in the picture? These people, what are they holding? Or maybe what are they doing here? You see water, right? And what do you see in the buckets? Salt. This is salt. For those who do not know what is in the buckets, it is salt. Salt that we added to food. Okay? And where does salt come from? I think that you all should know where salt comes from. It comes from mostly from the seawater because it's salty. That's right. Exactly. It comes from the seawater. And the seawater is what? It's a resource that comes from nature. So salt is what? It's a natural resource. Why? Because we extract it from the water, which is a natural resource. Okay? Let's see. Water, trees, land, oil, minerals. What are these? These are just a few of the Earth's valuable natural resources. These are very few examples of the natural resources. And now, when we go on in our lesson, you will notice that there are a lot of natural resources that you haven't thought about them before. Salt. is one of our most important natural resources. In this salt marsh here where they extract salt from water, people work to extract salt from the water. Okay? Natural resources are a necessity. Necessity, which is one of our vocabulary words, means it is essential or very important. We need it. Is natural resources are a necessity for us, but many are limited. As people use natural resources, they must remember to conserve and protect them. So we use them, but at, at the same time, we have to conserve and protect them. So in order not to reach a certain point and we do not find these natural resources. Why? You're going to know in the reading lesson. Let me give you another introduction about our topic. Listen carefully, guys. Knowing how to locate, harvest, and use natural resources is important for our lives. Why is it important for our lives? Because we cannot live without natural resources. So we have to know how to locate and harvest and use them. Take coffee as an example. What is this? You might say this is not coffee. For sure, this is coffee. Why? Because coffee is a plant. So coffee is what? A natural resource. This beverage starts with beans on a plant. You see, I have beans on the plant. These are coffee beans. After harvesting, the coffee beans are roasted. What happens to the coffee beans? They are roasted. After they are roasted, it is then brewed and served at home and in restaurants and shops everywhere. So after it's roasted, we brew it. We make it also into fine powder. Then we make it into a liquid to serve it, to drink it. Okay, where at home, in restaurants or in shops. Okay, so from here we deduce that coffee is a natural resource. Have you ever thought that coffee is a natural resource? I'm sure not. For example, okay, why not? History tells us that early explorers went out in search of spices. So also spices is a natural resource. And you want example of spices? I will give you the pepper plant. This is the pepper plant. Pepper is one of the spices also. We use it in food. When they are ripe, these pepper in the plant, when they are ripe, okay, we harvest them. We take the peppercorns and we harvest them and we dry them. Okay. Here there are not only pepper, there are different kinds of spices, but pepper is one of them. Okay, just to show you example, they are dried, then they are made into powder, and the chefs all over the world use pepper to spice up their dishes. So it's hard to imagine life without these gifts from nature. What are these gifts? For sure, the natural resource. Why did we call them gifts? Because nature gives them to us and they are very important in our life, which in our turn we have to pay attention how to use them in order to conserve and protect them. So again, I repeat, natural resources are the resources that are essential in our life and come from nature. Okay, and it's important to know how to protect and conserve them. Why? Because in our reading lesson, you will know why some resources are very important to take care about the way that we use them. Okay? There are certain reasons. Stay tuned in order to know what are these reasons in the reading lesson. Before I move to the reading lesson, what should we do first? As usual, or the keywords. First, I'm going to read the words in the with the sentences. Okay? Okay, the first word is absorb. A sponge will absorb or soak up the spilled coffee. So, what will the sponge the sponge do? Absorb. What do you mean by absorb? From the sentence itself, we can get its meaning, which means soak up. The second word, affect. Adding honey will affect the sweetness of the cereal. Some might say affect will change the taste of the cereal. That's right, affect here change, but in a way that we can, in other words, say that it influences. Okay? It influences. So it affects, it changes. The third word is what? Circulates. And you might notice that circulates is similar to circle. Why? Now you'll see. Blood circulates from the heart through the body and back to the heart. Heart, body, then heart. Heart, body, then heart. So you see the shape of the mouse here? It goes like in circle. Yes, because the pathway is like a circle shape. Okay? So circulates when it goes in a circular path. Conserve. I conserve energy by turning off lights when I leave a room. Why do you turn off the light when you leave the room? In order to conserve the energy, in order not to consume energy too much. Cycle. When the dryer completes its cycle, I will remove the clothes. Okay? So here there's a cycle. The dryer is doing something over and over again, so we call it a cycle. Glaciers. Huge glaciers made of thick ice, so glaciers are made of thick ice, can be found in freezing waters. And also we can find glaciers on mountains. Necessity. A guide dog or cane is a necessity to help visually impaired people cross a street. Visually impaired people, people who are not able to see, blind, okay, they need help in order to cross streets and to walk. Where do they get this help from? The guide dog or the cane? So the guide dog and the cane are very important for these people, so we say it's a necessity for them. Last word is seeps. You see here, the latex from the rubber tree seeps, it leaks out or flows slowly into a bucket. Now, bank and get into the specific meaning of each word. Circulates, moves in a circular path. Absorb, soak up, especially liquid. Affect, influence. Conserve, keep from harm, loss, or change. Cycle, a series of events that happen over and over in the same order. Glaciers, large masses of ice found in cold regions or on top of high mountains. Necessity, something that is needed or required. Seeps, flows or spreads slowly. You see, slowly. Pay attention to the word slowly. So now that we have finished from explaining the vocabulary words, don't worry. You have the worksheet with plenty of exercises on the vocabulary words, and you can practice them more and more in order to master these words 100%. Okay. Now to the reading lesson. First of all, we have to introduce the genre of the text. So, as I told you, it's not a new genre, it's something familiar to you. Okay. It is expository text or informational text. Expository text, when the selection power from nature is an expository text. Why? Because it explains a topic, supports specific points with reasons and evidence, so it gives reasons and evidence, presents information in a logical order, may include text features such as charts. Okay, if you notice here, they are showing us that we are going to find a chart in the reading lesson. So now, are you ready to move to the reading lesson? Let's first read what the chart, or what is the purpose of the chart. A chart represents facts visually to allow readers to compare and contrast information. So simply, The chart gives more information in order to allow the reader understand everything. So now reading lesson. As usual, I'm going to read it for you just one time so you practice it by yourself. Okay? Are you ready? Let's start. Power from nature. If you look here at this picture, first of all, you notice that we have wind turbines. They are placed in open areas. Do you know why do we use these wind turbines? In order to produce electricity, okay, but without using oil. This is one of the modern technologies that allow us to use natural resources, okay, in case we miss some resources. Why? Because there are renewable and non-renewable energy or resources. Now we are going to start with them and explain them in detail. Renewable and non-renewable energy. Click. You just turned on a lamp. A faraway power plant most likely supplied the electricity for that lamp by burning coal. Coal, which has to be extracted from deep within the earth, is a natural resource. Natural resources are nature's gifts the riches that exist in the natural world. They include metals and minerals, along with vegetation, soil, and animals in the wild. They include the things that are a necessity for all life: water, air, and sunlight. So here we can deduce that the necessity minerals or materials that we need them in our lives are water, air, and sunlight. This is the first three important things we need in our life. One important use for natural resources is to provide energy. Energy makes things work. So we need energy in our life. It's very important. Why? Let's take examples. It runs our cars, computers, heating and cooling systems, kitchen appliances, telephones, televisions, and industrial machinery. Where do we get all this energy? Natural resources serve as energy sources. So do you see now why do we need natural resources? Energy sources are divided into two categories: renewable energy sources, such as sunlight and wind. Why do we call them renewable? Can be renewed. Okay, so renewable means can be renewed or continuously refilled. They do not run out. In contrast, non renewable energy sources can be depleted or used. In contrast, here we're giving something opposite to the renewable, which is non renewable energy, which cannot be used up or used again. Like what? Coal, natural gas, and oil, also called petroleum, fall into this category. So once these resources called natural gas and oil are not found anymore, we cannot find them, we cannot manufacture them or produce them, and nature cannot produce new quantities. Only a limited amount of these substances called fossil fuels exists. Nuclear energy is also non-renewable because it requires uranium. Amounts of uranium are finite or limited. Okay? So from here you get that we have two types of energy, renewable and non-renewable energy. So that's why we have to know how to conserve and to protect energy or resources. For example, let's take these two pictures. Here we have cooling towers at a nuclear facility, and here we have a natural gas pipeline. In history, people used renewable energy. For example, sails captured wind to move ships, and wood was burned to cook food. Then, about 150 years ago, human energy needs exploded. New machines required more energy. New ways to harness or control energy for use had to be developed. So here from this sentence you can get that harness means what? To control. Okay? From the 19th century on, most energy has come from non-renewable sources. Challenges and the problems. Let's see what challenges and the problems we are facing. Non-renewable energy has filled our needs on a huge scale. However, satisfying our energy hunger has been challenging. Okay, so non-renewable energy has filled our needs on a huge scale, but on the other hand, satisfying our energy hunger has been challenging. Supplies of coal, natural gas, oil, and uranium are buried underground. They must be discovered and extracted. Also, human technology is needed to transform natural resources into usable forms of energy. For example, gasoline has to be manufactured from oil and then delivered to customers. Although non renewable energy sources have filled our needs, continuing to use them possesses problems. They not only can run out but also can pollute the environment. Burning coal produces gases that can poison the air. Some scientists argue that these gases have heated up our atmosphere. They say global warming will affect our climate so dramatically that glaciers will melt and sea levels will rise. So when sea level rises, we will not have land anymore. In addition, it is not just our atmosphere that can be polluted. Oil from spills often seeps into the ocean. Extracting natural gas can pollute a site's surroundings. Nuclear energy creates dangerous waste. So, there are certain disadvantages of using, okay, the uh, some resources. Let's see this chart here before we continue on. This chart gives the percentages of the US energy use from 1949 to 2010, the energy use. Let's see how it changed. Fossil fuels, they started with 91% to 93% to 86% to 83%. So the usage of fossil fuels is decreasing over time. Nuclear power, it was 0% in 1949, then it increased to 1%, then 6%, then to 9%. So now they are depending, we can say, on nuclear power. The renewable energy, it started with 9%, then 6%, then 8%, then 8%. We can say that it is stable. Okay, let's move to the last page of the reading lesson. What are solutions to our energy challenges? Let's see what are some of the solutions. We must find some answers. One possibility is a return to renewable energy, which generally causes less pollution than fossil fuels. However, renewable energy is currently expensive and complex to harness on a large scale. Solutions for the future. Solar power or power from the sun shows the promise. Solar panels on houses can absorb the sun's energy to provide heat. Nonetheless, because Earth rotates on its axis and circulates in a yearly cycle around the sun's energy is less available at certain times and seasons and in different places. It will take innovation and investment to maximize our use of solar power and other renewable energy. We also can learn to use non renewable energy more wisely. Government and the private industry have a role to play in protecting our natural resources and in reducing pollution. Moreover, individuals can try to conserve energy. We can remember to turn off lights, TVs, computers, and other devices when we are not using them. Small personal efforts can add up to big changes in our energy future. So now you have got a whole idea about types of energy, how we are using them, and what are some problems we're facing, plus to some solutions that we need to follow in order to not face problems in the coming future. Move to our comprehension skill, which is not a new skill. It's something that we have explained before a long time ago in school. It is the author's purpose. And if you have forgotten what is the author's purpose, remember, always remember this picture, which is the pie. Pie, author's purpose. The author likes to eat pie. P for persuade, the first author purpose behind writing a text. We have three main purposes. P for persuade, I for inform, and E for entertain. Okay? When do we say that the author's purpose is to persuade? Is when he's trying to convince the reader of a certain point of view. When is the author's purpose to inform, to teach, or give information to the reader? And the last one is E for entertain, to hold the attention of the reader through enjoyment. In every text, the writer has a purpose. The three main purposes are to entertain the reader, inform the reader, or in other words, we can say teach the reader, or persuade the reader. If the text is a poem, play, or story, then it's safe to say that the author's main purpose is to entertain readers. If the text is primarily providing readers with facts and information, like the one we read now, then we can conclude that the author's main purpose in writing the text is to inform readers. If the text contains many arguments and claims or a call where the reader is urged to take action means we want him to do something, then the author's main purpose is to persuade. So now let's move now to a short exercise to practice the author's purpose again. Also, I'm going to remind you that in the worksheet you're going to have a question related to the author's purpose. Read each of the following sentences below and underline the choice that best describes the writer's purpose. Number one, a story about a family trying to stick together and survive through an adventure in the woods. So you're reading a story here, okay? What could be the purpose for the author? Inform, persuade, or entertain? No, it's for sure to entertain. Two, a section in a history book describing the conditions and causes of the European Revolution. What could be the purpose behind writing a history book? Inform, entertain, or persuade? For sure, history, we're giving facts and information, so it is to inform. Three, an instructional booklet describing how to operate a smartphone. Instructional booklet, and it's telling us how to operate a smartphone, so it is what to inform. Number four, an article where the author argues that an iPhone is better than an Android phone. So here there's an argue, and there's the author is trying to tell us that something is better than the other. So here he is trying to convince us. So it's not inform, not entertain. It is persuade. Okay, guys, I think that everything is clear now. So now we have finished from the skill and the vocabulary words with the theme. We can move to the figures of speech. Okay, and if you notice here, I'm writing personification and irony. We're going to take these two types of figures of speech. But first of all, let me remind you what are figures of speech. Literal and figurative language. Literal language is explicit, obvious, out in the open, and plainly stated. It is a major part of nonfiction texts, but can also be found in fiction. So, in simple words, the literal language is what the sentence exactly means, or what the word exactly means. Figurative language infers or suggests things rather than stating them. It creates a picture in your mind, so it is imagery. Figurative language can give a text more richness and depth. It is often found in fiction texts and autobiographies, but can also be found in non fiction. If you remember before, we took the simile, which is one of the figures of speech. A simile, a figure of speech which involves a direct comparison between two unlike things, usually with the words like or as. For example, the boy is hungry as a bear. Before is the metaphor, a figure of speech which involves an implied comparison between two relatively unlike things using a form of be. The comparison is not announced by like or as. Example, the floor is a flaming rock. Now we start with a new type of figures of speech. Okay? Personification. What is personification and why do we use it? Personification is when you give an animal or object qualities or abilities that only a human can have. So we're giving human characteristics to animals and objects. This creative literary tool adds interest and fun to poems or stories. Personification is what writers use to bring non human things to life. It helps us better understand the writer's message. Let's take the example in the picture. Personification example. The brutal wind bullied the tree into giving up its autumn leaves. Brutal wind. The wind could be brutal? No, for sure we can say about a human brutal, but since it's very strong, we said brutal wind. So here there is a personification. Bullied the tree. Can the wind bully the tree? No, because we only human bully each other. But here, since the wind was very strong and the trees started swaying right and left, so we described it as bullying. Into giving up its autumn leaf. Giving up, it's not to give up, to surrender, it's to fall. Here, the leaves started falling. Okay, so this is an example of personification. Let's take another examples or more examples about personification. The car danced across the icy road. Would the car dance? For sure, no, but it didn't move steadily. The angry clouds marched across the sky. Angry. Why they are angry? Because there is a storm coming. Yes, but the clouds for sure they do not get angry. Only human get angry. And march, they do not walk. The the clouds they do not walk. Only human walk. Third example, the stars in the clear night sky winked at me. So, since the stars are sparkling, here the writer liked to use the word winked. Wink is used for human. We only wink. Last one, the tulips. The tulips nodded their heads in the breeze. Nodded, they moved up and down. We nod our heads, but the tulips cannot, because they are flowers, they cannot nod their heads. But there is wind or breeze, so they started moving up and down. So the writer explained or described them as nodding. Let's take other examples about personification. The sun peeked happily from behind a cloud. The trees danced back and forth in the wind. Trees do not dance. The car happily squealed down the highway. It was time to go home, but the bell refused to ring. The warm fireplace seemed to be calling my name. The angry sky roared and threw lightning around. The gentle wind softly kissed my cheeks as I walked. The delicious smell of cookies pulled me to the kitchen. That chocolate ice cream cone is really tempting me. I can see that the news travels quickly. Okay? The second new type in figures of speech is irony. What is irony? Irony is a literary technique in which what is written or stated is different from or the opposite of what is expected. There are several types of irony, but we are going to focus on one type, which is verbal irony. Okay, there are several types of irony, but we are going just to focus on one type, verbal irony. This book is great. Let's see. The boy doesn't look happy but why did he say this book is great? Because he means the opposite. So here he makes an irony. It's a verbal irony in the words, okay, or in the verbs. The changes or the opposite is said in words, in the verb. Verbal irony is when a person says the opposite of what they mean. You see, the opposite of what they mean, often to sarcastic effect, to show sarcasm, such as when a customer says, "Good job," to a waiter who has dropped his tray. So, if a waiter drops his tray, is it a good job? For sure, no. So, here the customer wants to show sarcasm, so he used verbal irony. He said, "Good job." Let's take this example. How do I look in a tie? Oh, you're perfect. It's the tie that's not worth you. How is it perfect and it's not worth him? So here there is an irony. Let's take other examples of verbal irony. Or first of all, just another explanation, saying one thing but meaning something else. Example, nice clean water you've got here when standing on the edge of a polluted river. Is it right that the clean water is found in the polluted river? For sure, no. Someone is making sarcasm here. So he said, nice clean water. This is irony itself. Examples of verbal irony also. The cake is as soft as concrete. The concrete is soft? For sure, no. Water is as clear as mud. Looking at her son's messy room, mom says, wow, you could win an award for cleanliness. 4. Great, there will be an exam. 5. As sunny as day in winter in Alaska. Is there a sunny day in Alaska and during winter? For sure, no. So, guys, now we have finished everything in this lecture. We explained the new theme with the vocabulary words, we revised the genre and the comprehension skill, and we explained the two new types of figures of speech. What you have to do is, when you understand most of the video, you have to go to the worksheet, which is uploaded on the application also. It's worksheet number 3 in semester 4. You have to practice as much as you can and wait for me tomorrow in the live Zoom in order to go over everything in brief. Then we start solving some parts of the worksheet. Okay? Until that time, hope that everything is good with you and everything is clear. Focus, concentrate, and study. Stay safe and see you soon. Bye.